How's it going, guys? It is Patrick here from Queen's Gambit, excited to bring you a special topic video. So we usually focus exclusively on war content, and we're kind of taking a random direction by answering a question in this video: how much money does Supercell make? But I think it's an important question, mainly because there's been a lot of controversy in the community at the moment about the war community in particular being neglected, not getting things like arranged wars, better balancing at Town Hall 10. And from what I understand of Supercell's response, is that they've came back and said, hey guys, we can't give you everything you want at the moment. Our developers have been so stretched working on a Town Hall 11 update, all this changes to farming, all that sort of stuff. And I think if we look at how much money Supercell makes, we can put another perspective on that question, whether it's true what developers say, you know. Is this a small company that's constrained for resources, or is it a large behemoth that is making hundreds of millions of dollars in profit and could easily afford a little bit more developer time to give a war community what they want? And just at the outset, my understanding is that Supercell makes all of its money off gemming. Different names and different franchises, like I think Boom Beach uses diamonds instead of gems. But essentially, every dollar that Supercell makes is a dollar that you spend because, I don't know, you want to gem the time on your Barbarian King so you can be back in war. So I'm going to answer that question by comparing Supercell's revenue, the money it makes, to probably one of the most successful game franchises of all time, or game of all time, which is Grand Theft Auto 5. So without further ado, let's get stuck right in. And the thing to know of GTA 5 is that in its first 3 days of launch, it just launched on Xbox 360 and a PS4. In 3 days of launch, it made $800 million. So that not only put it as the fastest selling game of all time, but what it did also is made it the highest grossing media or entertainment product of all time. So if you compare GTA 5 to a really popular blockbuster movie or the Beatles album or something like that adjusted for inflation, GTA 5 absolutely dominated in those 3 days. $800 million is unprecedented, not just in games, but across any genre of entertainment. So, over its lifetime, so it's just thinking about 3 days, I mean GTA 5's been around for a long time. It's now on a lot more platforms, a new generation of consoles, plus PC. Over its lifetime, it sold 60 million copies. That's million copies of a game. And, you know, I don't know what the total revenue was, but about $60 a copy, 60 US, which I think is reasonable. That would equate at about $3.6 billion in total revenue for a franchise. So obviously a hugely successful game, made a lot of money, $3.6 billion. It's just, yeah, astronomical figure. So let's compare it to our friend Supercell, who I managed to obtain some accounts for. Just as a preface, Supercell was started in the year 2010. I don't know if it made any money in that time. I couldn't get information on 2010. But if you look at the next slide, here is the revenue it made. So 2011, it made pretty much nothing in the game world. It's $200,000. Probably would have spent a lot more developing Clash of Clans than they bought in with that 200k. 2012, you see a huge jump in revenue to $78 million. 2013, another phenomenal jump to about $500 million. In 2014, Supercell made $1.5 billion. So they're all the figures I could obtain. And what's conspicuously absent from here is the 2015 year. I don't know if Supercell just hasn't got around to preparing its accounts yet. They have a December year end, so it can still take a few months after that to get them done. But let's assume that Supercell in 2015, it just made the same revenue as 2014. So even though you see this huge amount of growth over this period, let's just assume that 2015 was no better a year than 2014. So what does that mean for lifetime revenue of Clash of Clans, or Supercell as a whole, I suppose? Over its lifetime, Supercell has made $3.7 billion in revenue. That compares to 3.6 in G2A, and remember, guys, for 2015, we're conservatively assuming that revenue in 2015 was the same as 14, so it could actually be a lot higher than that figure. So I suppose the message in this is that Supercell, in terms of revenue, and yes, this is a company, a developer that makes 4 different games, as opposed to GTA, which is just one game, but Supercell's revenue is greater than for Grand Theft Auto 5. which is a lot of money. And the other thing I'd want to note on that, I mean, we're comparing Supercell, just a second, we're comparing Supercell to probably your most successful or fastest selling entertainment product of all time. Not just the fastest selling game of all time, GTA 5, a fastest selling entertainment product. So faster than, biggest blockbuster movies, your albums, anything that's come out. It's just phenomenal to think that Supercell could actually be pulling in more revenue in GTA 5. Other thing I want to note is that for 3.7 billion in revenue, Supercell translated to about $1 billion in profit. I would be amazed if GTA managed to make the same profit purely because of development costs. You look at a game like GTA, they have to program in pretty advanced AI, they have this big, beautiful open world, the graphics are phenomenal, it requires scripting, they hired proper actors for it, it's got a campaign mission, which just gives you about 50 hours of gameplay. I mean, I'm not an expert on the stuff, but my guess is that the developer resource that goes into making GTA 5 would be more and cost a lot more than making Supercell's portfolio of games. So I imagine Supercell has actually made more profit in GTA 5. So just moving on to the next slide, I mean, this is an interesting one, because Supercell consistently ranks, or Clash of Clans consistently ranks among the highest grossing game. It's kind of a flat line at the top there. That Real Volatile game, it's ranking Supercell on top 3 downloads. So any downloads that are for free from App Store, it just sort of gives a rank on most popular. You can see Supercell spikes, or Clash of Clans spikes everywhere. And there's a few blips where it really got more popular, and they were coincided with big updates. So when Supercell gave the community something, they gave them changes to the way heroes were done, or clan war perks, that sort of stuff. You had Supercell would start, or Clash of Clans would start to rank higher in free apps. One interesting observation is that I think there's been a bit of a downward trend since late 2014. And late 2014 also happens to be the time where Supercell was acquired by another company. The company is called SoftBank Corp. So it was a Japanese company, I think, which bought them out for over $1.5 billion for 50% of them, and has since then bought more and more shares in Supercell to a point where it got control of it. And I really think there's a trend after that sort of late 2014, which I think was the golden era of the game, where things have gone downhill. Town Hall 11, I reckon, is a bit of a flop, to be honest. That's my blunt opinion. You're welcome to disagree. Post your comments below if you like. And the war community hasn't got what it wants. They ruined the balance at Town Hall 9. I mean, I just think it's been a lot of mistakes made since then, and it happens to coincide to when Supercell was bought by this new company. So I don't know much about SoftBank Corp. I don't know what the objectives are holding Supercell, but perhaps they're more profit orientated than gaming community or developer orientated. So what can we take from all this? I mean, okay, so Supercell make a lot of money. It's likely to be more than GTA 5, which is one of the most successful games of all time. And don't forget, guys, every dollar that Supercell makes is from you guys buying gems. I mean, one thing I spend a lot of gems on is if I want to be in Clan Wars and my queen is upgrading from level 28 to 29, I have to gem a time, and it costs, $5-6 every time, so that I can war without my heroes down. So you guys, the community, are a reason they're making this money for 3.7 billion in revenue, about $1 billion in profit over a lifetime. So I mean, as you guys are pretty much funding this game, and on $1 billion profit, I think there'd be some room in their budget. I'd hope there'd be some room to give the community what they want. It's not ambiguous what the war community in particular wants, and I think there'd be room in the budgets to do that. Yeah, and I mean, I know we're comparing Supercell to GTA 5, and Supercell is a portfolio of games. You've got Clash of Clans, Boom Beach, Heyday, Clash Royale. I couldn't get data on individual ones, but I imagine Clash would probably account for the lion's share of revenue and profit. It's an infinitely more popular game than the rest of them, although Clash Royale's in its infancy, and it's shaping up to be quite a popular game as well. So guys, that's just my video on how much money does Supercell make. I hope it was interesting and informative. If you would like to see more out of Supercell, more listening to the war community, getting more developers, so ultimately the guys who are paying for your gems, propelling your profit and revenue to these astronomical levels, can get a bit more of what we want, then like and share this video. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Probably bring me something more normal, like a war recap or some videos against anti-freestar bases. I mean, this is kind of an unusual video for us to do. And anyway, yeah, catch you guys later.